very warm welcome and thank you all for joining us in this webinar on how to design a robust employee performance management in your organization. I'm Manali Vyas, your host for this webinar. This session will be of 45 minutes along with your Q&A session. This webinar is conducted by Synergita. Synergita is a cloud-based performance management software which not only automates to resolve all employee performance review pain points, but also enables employee engagement, employee training, and development through its unique features. The first presenter for today's session will be Mr. Akashdeep Sharma. He is Manager Corporate HR and OD Interventions. He has vast experience in the field of corporate and manufacturing HR professional practice in the domains of strategic functional HR with large-scale organizations. Hands-on experience upon design and implementation of recruitment strategies, balanced scorecards, 360-degree based PMS, competency maps, job analysis, learning models, strategic maps, HRIS, and manpower planning rationalization. The second presenter for today's session will be Mr. Prabhakar Marimuthu. He is Director of Engineering at Synergita. Prabhakar has more than 15 years of experience with focus on software product engineering, architecture, cloud technology, project management, customer relations, certified project management professional, Oracle certified master, enterprise architect, currently spearheading the engineering activities at Synergita. Now, before handing over the control to Akash, here are some housekeeping instructions. All phones are set to mute. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat window located beside the presentation panel. We have received several questions from the registrants which will be answered by the speakers during Q&A session. We will continue to collect more questions during the session as we receive and will try to answer them during today's session. In case if you do not receive answers to your questions today, you will certainly receive answers via email shortly. Thank you for your participation and enjoy the session. Over to you, Akash.
Hello. Manali.
Yes, Akash, you can start.
So my screen is visible, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction, Manali. Good afternoon to all the listeners. First of all, I welcome all of you to this webinar specific for the topic of designing effective performance management systems in the organizations. I hope the session will be covering the aspects of our common interest and it becomes a collective learning experience for all of us. When I was approached by Synergita to talk about speaking on effective performance management system, I thought it will be a good idea to rather speak on designing the performance management systems instead of implementing the performance management in an organization. Because the listeners of the webinar were supposed to come from a diverse set of industries and cultures, where the implementation procedures may largely vary from one another. For example, in an organization where the work culture is of a kind of a controlled or centralized, the implementation procedure of performance management systems will be quite different from the organization that support a more open and decentralized hierarchical patterns. But as far as design of the performance management system is concerned, there are some universal features that are being applicable in all sort of organizations when they are adopting a performance management system. So to a great extent, the ideal design of performance management system is universal. Certainly, the design of performance management system will again depend upon organization's specific needs, but the basic flow, the format of designing will remain the universal. And how you apply that design will lead to generation of a different performance management system, which will be different for different organization. So the first choice is about the design, and the second is that how do you implement those designs. So I'll now quickly take you to the presentation part. And I'll just be explaining you that what will be the flow of this session. In this session, I'll be covering some theoretical aspects about what is performance and what is the need of measuring performances in the organizations. And then I'll also be speaking a little about how performance design and management systems are different from the conventional performance management systems of the organizations. Then I'll be taking up few techniques, procedures, and methodologies that are available to design, measure, and manage performances in 360-degree scale. Here, I would like to take some practical examples. I'll be covering these aspects by the help of 2 case studies that I have been personally applied in different kind of organizations. But before moving to the technicalities and before moving to the actual session, I would like to give you a brief introduction of my area of expertise in this area on performance management system, like how I have been working on PMS and how I have been implementing different sort of performance management system in different sort of industries. I have completed my formal education in engineering, and afterwards I started my career in a biotechnology firm at the bank at Bangalore, India. When I was working there in a technical domain, then my work was basically to scrutinize the projects that were coming from different parts of country to be adopted by Biocon. So I was meeting a lot of people, and while scrutinizing those projects, I was sitting with the HR director of Biocon as well. So while interacting with the people, I got interest into people operations, like how they are managing, how they are selecting the projects, and how the overall business model is being applicable in the human resources domain. So I developed interest in people operations, and I decided to rather pursue for formal education in human resource management. So I completed my MBA. Afterwards, I quit my job, and then I pursued my MBA in human resources from Punjab University. And then after doing my MBA, during my MBA, I also bucketed few certifications of my interest, like strategic HR, lean management, psychiatric analysis, psychometric analysis to be very precise, then HR data analytics, PMS designing, and effective speaking, etc., etc. And then I joined an aggressively growing large-scale group in core manufacturing industry, which is a textile and conventional industry. In that organization, I worked in the corporate office, and I closely worked in strategic orientation or a strategic department of the company, where I was involved into various large scale projects, because the company was basically setting up their operations in North India. It was very aggressively growing. They were having about 6 manufacturing factories when I joined that company, and during the period of next 3 years, they expanded it to 18 factories. So you can see that it was aggressively growing company. So various systems, procedures were to be laid down over there. So I joined that organization with an approach to work on a strategic HR aspects. I designed and implemented various HRBP models over there with the help of my guide over there, and it was a quite a learning experience. Afterwards, I joined another growing group in another set of industry, which is a completely different industry from textiles. It is pharmaceuticals. I again worked at the corporate level in this organization, and I tested and established new sort of models over the new set of behaviors, because the people in this industry were very different from the people in textile industry, behavior wise as well as expectation wise. So the matching the aspirations and expectations of people in this organization was quite different from what I did in my last organization. And I also run a systematic concept learning organization with a group of friends, which is known as Navitas. It is basically an organization that provides expertise, consultancies, trainings, orientations to the transformational interventions in human behavior. So this was a brief introduction that how I have been doing till now in my career and how I've been contributing in human resources. You can see that in entire of my career till now, I have been working upon interventions of human resources, where I have implemented new sort of models, interventions, strategic HR practices to the organizations that were aggressively growing and that were open and receptive to the ideas. But definitely there were different sort of challenges to deal while working on those organizations. So in the next slides, I'll be speaking about those challenges and how I have been able to bring up changes in those organizations and what practices and procedures I followed in those organizations. First of all, talk about some theoretical part of the performance management system, like what is performance management system? We all know that. And how important and critical it is for the success of any organization. It is also well established part for all of us. But how to design an effective performance management system in an organization? Usually, you do not design a performance management system right from the scratch, because there is always some system which is running in the organization to measure the performances of the organization. So it's not just the designing part, it's the change management. Basically, when you are changing the existing conventional performance management system of the organization to a completely new PMS which is meeting the needs of the future for the organization. So how to do that? To do that, basically there are various ways and methods to do it, but as I was speaking that there's a universal design to do it. So I'll be first taking you to the designing part. The core design of the performance management system, you'll be finding this fact a little surprising. It is common and universal to all the organization, no matter in which industry you are working, no matter in which culture you are working, no matter in which orientation you are working. The basic concept or the basic design on which you will be driving or designing your performance management system is same. Effective performance management system is basically a resultant of a conceptually sound design that provides you enough provisions to keep it flexible to the dynamic and developmental needs of the organization. So design is a root cause. If you pick a wrong design, then you will definitely end up with a wrong performance management system. This design is universal. So whenever you are trying to renew, re-engineer, or re-establish a performance management system of the organization, it is very important to focus on the design part first of all. Not on the methodologies, not on the technique, not on the concept, but the design part. This is 5-point universal design system. In all the organization who are implementing a performance management system, they'll be focusing upon having a performance management system that well incorporates these 5 aspects. Your PMS should be effective, it should be acceptable, it should be efficient, it should be flexible, and it should be proactive. So this is the basic of every performance management system. It may be a manual performance management system, cloud-based or synchronized based, or whatever performance management system. You may be in IT, you may be in manufacturing, but these 5 aspects your PMS should be covering. Let's bifurcate this aspect or open up this aspect. I'll be speaking about effective performance management system only if my performance management system is relevant, scientific, and rational. It means that my performance management system should not be hypothetical. It should not based on the procedures and processes which are being implemented in some another organizations, but which are not practical in your organization. For example, NASA, Google, or maybe you can take name of big short organizations. Whatever they are doing in their organization, it may be effective for them, but it may not be effective for you. So it is very important that your performance management system should be relevant, scientific, and rational as far as your organization environment is concerned. Next is acceptable. Your performance management system should be transparent and credible. It should be acceptable to everyone in the organization. It should be efficient, valid, and consistent. It should be giving the same results in the same set of circumstances. It should be flexible also. If there is in future, if you are having some change to be introducing in your performance management system, then it should be dynamic and supportive. It should be flexible enough. And finally, it should be proactive. Your performance management system should not be measuring the performances. It should be actually designing the performances for the organization. You will all agree that organizations do perform when people working in the organization perform. Okay, and no one in the organization actually wants to be an underperformer. Everyone wants to be a performer. But the problem arises when we start putting wrong people at wrong places. So your performance management system should also work in this orientation, that along with highlighting the poor performers, they should also be highlighting their strengths. They should also be highlighting in their proper placement at the right kind of places and positions, so that everyone in the organization at the end of the day should be performing, well performing. So it should be proactive. And after you have addressed these 5 points, you can now pick up any method, technique, methodology for using your designing your performance management system. It may vary. Your methods may vary, your techniques may vary, your methodologies may vary, but these 5 points will be same and universal with all the organization. This is kind of a need study that you will be doing in your organization before picking up your method, techniques, or methodology. After you do this, the second step is picking up a concept. Once you have cleared your design part, then you can move to pick up a concept. You can pick up a conventional concept. You can run your performance management system on the basis of ACRs, annual confidential reports. You can have your descriptive scales. You can have your PMS based upon traditional concepts like generic scalar method. You can have your PMS designed on role-based competency approach, where you are not incorporating goals, but you are just generalizing people on the basis of their competencies by virtue of their hierarchy in the organization. You can also move to a more advanced goal setting, KRA planning and monitoring sheets. You can move towards standard activity charting procedures, and then you can finally move towards balanced scorecard concept. Now, if I say you that in any organization, you can just pick one of these concepts and then you can die with it, then it's not true. Whatever and wherever you are, once you have completed the 5-point design and you have moved towards picking up a concept, say a basic concept, traditional concept, then at some day you have to move towards balanced scorecard concept if you want to make your organization progressive and developing. So no matter at which step you start, you may start at conventional concept. You have to go towards balanced scorecard concept step by step. Conventional to traditional to role-based to goal setting to standard activity to balanced scorecard concept. And balanced scorecard concept is basically the final strategic performance management system concept where you have to reach, no matter which concept you pick. This will, how you will pick your concept, it is going to affect one important factor of your design, the acceptability. If you pick conventional concept, then your acceptability will be lower. And if you pick the balanced scorecard concept, your acceptability of the performance management system will be more. So as you move down, your acceptability of performance management system improves, it enhances. Why? Because it removes the human intervention into performance management system and it makes your system more and more data oriented, trends oriented, and rationality oriented. It becomes more transparent and credible. Acceptability is the most important aspect of any performance management system. Usually organizations fail in implementing performance management system because they do not give important consideration to this aspect. Why acceptability and why picking up a concept put effect on the acceptability? Very simple reason, because through performance management system, you are not measuring the performances of your machines. You are not measuring the performance management system of your procedures. You are measuring the performances of your human beings. Every organization do exist for performing. Every living organism, let it be an animal, let it be a human, they are existing because they are performing. Anyone who is not able to perform will not be able to survive. Let it be animal, let it be a human being. Okay. Similarly, in organizations, different individuals, groups, systems, procedures, policies, and decisions, they perform. And that's why organizations exist. Now you can replicate design systems, procedures, policies, and decisions based upon what your competitors are doing or what great organizations are doing. You can predict the performance of your system, your procedure, policies, and decisions, but the performance of individuals and groups, it is very difficult to predict, forecast, and design. The reason is very simple, the human factor, the intrinsic factor, because it is associated with so many beliefs, influences, personal benefits, professional benefits, so many interfering factors that you have to address these aspects if you want your people to accept your performance management systems, accept the standards that you have set in your performance management systems, and perform accordingly. These intrinsic factors act as hindering factors in the acceptability of performance management systems. That's why PMS of organizations are not universally acceptable to everyone in the organization. To make it acceptable, how to move further? It is by smartly conceptualizing the performance management system that links the performances with the master plan of the organization. If everyone in the organization, let it be a office boy or let it be CEO, if they are able to see the linkage of their work with the overall plan of the organization, then there will be a very strong tendency in them to contribute towards that plan. Because by contributing in that plan, they will be having something to take away with them. Let it be a small contributor, let it be a big contributor. So it is very important that your performance management system should very loudly let them know that how they are linked with the overall plan of the organization. It cannot be done by rewards, incentives, and increments. These are the outcomes of your performance management system. You can have different procedures of rewarding your employees. You can have increments, you can have incentives, you can have ESOPs, you can have different routes through which you will be ending up your performance management system. But it should not be treated as the way to link the performances. It's not. To link the performances, the actual way should be the mountaineering approach. When I take an example of climbing on a mountain, there are different people who are climbing to the mountain, and then there is a base working, there are doctors working for them. Not each one of them reaches to the summit, but each one of them contribute towards achieving the success of the person who finally reaches to the summit. Okay, so that should be the linkage. Everyone in the organization should work as a common team to make the final summit achieved. How to do that? By picking up the right methodology, scales and spread. I'm just showing you how your methodology puts impact on your performance management system's outcome. I'll just show you by the help of an example. This is a survey which was conducted, and it was people were basically asked that how many of you are basically willing to donate the organs after the death. You can see that there are different sort of responses received from the different countries. Now, interesting observation here is that it is believed that USA and Russia, these are the two economies which are having very different culture from one another. But in both these countries, people were having similar opinion. Culturally, they are different, but 80% of people in USA were willing to donate organs, and in Russia, it was again 91%. Whereas India and Nepal, which are considered as almost similar sort of cultures, they are totally different from one another in their thought approach. So what was different? Culturally, these countries are very different from one another, but their responses were same. So what was different? I'll tell you what was different. Towards first set of population, they asked this question that check the box below if you want to participate in the organ donor program. Majority of people didn't check it, so they didn't participate in the organ donor program. To another set of population, they asked to check the box if you don't want to participate in the organ donor program. They again didn't check it, so they automatically become part of the organ donor program. So this is how your performance management system's methodology is going to put impact on the outcomes of your performance management system. Usually what we do in organizations, we do not pay due attention on designing of forms, statements, and the questions that are to be asked from the employees while judging their performances or while getting their outcomes from it. Whereas it puts a huge impact on the outcomes of the performance management system. Take an example. This is again psychological example. Here, Tom and Jerry, basically, this is the data of a speed dating website in which a few set of 100 respondents were asked that you would like to go on a date with Tom or Jerry, okay? And then they introduced an uglier version of Jerry in comparison. Then majority of respondents picked up Tom as the choice. And when they introduced a rather uglier version of Jerry, then the choice was suddenly shifted to Jerry. So basically, the set of alternatives that are available with the employees, it do put impact that which option they are going to pick. Similarly, in performance management system forms and statements, the way you ask them a question is going to put impact upon their response as well. So the way your statement should be crafted in performance management system forms, it should also require your attention and consideration. It's critically important how you design your forms, statements, flow of PMS to obtain the desired outcomes. Next comes your PMS flow procedures. After this, once you have finalized your design, your concept, your methodology, now you reach to PMS flow procedure. Now you can pick any method. You can manually run your PMS. You can run it in a synchronized way. You can run it through an in-premises software. You can run it on cloud technology, based upon how big your organization is or how complicated your operations are, to just simplify your performance management systems. It is not going to affect your outcomes of the performance management system if you have addressed the previous three aspects. But if you want to simplify further your performance management system, you can pick any one of these procedures. So let's come back to the final summary of whatever we have been discussing till now. Designing of the performance management system, 5-point design, 5-point universal study of the organization. It is the first step in designing performance management systems. After that, the concept that you pick, it is very important. The methodology that you choose, it is very important. And finally, the PMS procedure that you pick up. These 4 steps will help you in designing an effective performance management system in your organization. Performance management systems have evolved a lot over a period of last few years. Ancient performance management systems were the one that talked about descriptive targets. It is same as the concepts, the conventional concept, where the targets were very descriptive. Employees had to write whatever they feel about their performance. It became conventional performance management system when you introduced specific targets, resources, TNIs, forms, bell curving. It then moved towards modern performance management system where you introduced deliverables, enablers, and measurement tools on your performance management system. And finally, these days, the performance management system, which covers all 4 aspects of design, concept, methodology, and PMS flow, is known as strategic PMS or PDMS. That talk about designing, linking, driving, monitoring, as well as controlling the individual, group, and organization's performance through a one common tool of assessment. So it is addressing all the aspects through one common tool of assessment. This was the theoretical aspects of the performance management system, that how the how the designing should be done. Now I'll be taking you two case studies. In this, I'll be explaining you that how I have been able to implement the performance management system by using the concept that I have discussed with you till now. Case study one, it was my last organization, which was very young organization of traditional heavyweight industry, textile industry. The organization was very young. It was having very dynamic culture by virtue of being young, because so many people were joining in the organization. We were hiring across the globe. Different people were joining. Different sort of cultures were seeping in. Very aggressive growth plan the organization had. But the conventional mindsets were also there, because the founders of the organization were region specific. They were having no experience in going global, and they were having good financial resources accumulated with them, but they were not having good global exposures with them. So they were working with a conventional mindset rather. Immature procedures, systems, and linkages were there, because when so many expansions were going on, projects were going on, and every day something was changing. So procedure, systems, and linkages, they were not that matured enough. Cost versus profit, there was a continuous burden of cutting costs, because the organization again was aggressively growing, and whenever an organization is growing, there is so many expenditure going on, so there is a pressure on the profits. So whenever there is a pressure on profits and sales are not expected to increase rapidly over a period of next 5 years due to expansion, so the focus comes upon cost. So rationalization of cost was a major challenge in the organization. So in these challenges, we had to design a performance management system that addresses all these aspects. So how we did that? We focused on this aspect: immature procedure, systems, and linkages, the basic evil of everything. So we decided that let's design a system which strengthens not only performance management system, but other monitoring systems of the organization as well, through which we can attain the target of costs versus profits. So what we did, we followed the balanced scorecard approach, the last concept in our slide that I showed you a few slides back. The balanced scorecard approach. What is balanced scorecard? Balanced scorecard is basically a measurement tool of a department which is balancing the department's objective with the objectives of the organization. That's why it is known as balanced scorecard. It balances three aspects. It balances organization's objectives with the department's objective and with the individual's objectives. It balances all these objectives to a common platform. That's why it is known as balanced scorecard. And when you design a balanced scorecard, it can not be done in isolation. You have to start it from the organizational end. You have to sit with the top management. You need to understand that what is their actual vision towards the organization, and how do they want their employees to perform in the periods to come. So it is a very proactive approach. The first step is to clear the strategic orientation of the organization. So we did that in that organization. The vision, mission statement, everything was established over there. So we derived 4 orientations from the organization's strategic vision: customer loyalty, employer satisfaction, and the environmental concerns, and profitability. These were the 4 orientations on which organization was supposed to focus in the coming next 10 years. These were the 4 strategic objectives of the next 10 years. Customer loyalty, employee satisfaction, environmental concerns, and then profitability. By using all these 4 orientations, we developed HR's individual strategy and HR's individual departmental goals. And we tried to link those goals with the individual employees' objectives and craft employees' objectives accordingly. Understand it with this example. There are 3 aspects of HR balanced scorecard: deliverables, enablers, and laggers, basically. So let's take an example that HR deliverable is efficiency. You want to drive, you want your employees to work efficiently. Okay, this is your deliverable, efficiently. And then what is the measure of this efficiency? It is their productivity, that how many production or the PCs they have been able to produce, or whatever the productivity criteria you are using to measure. So what is the outcome on the productivity is an indicator of the efficiency. And how the productivity will be achieved? Through the competencies. So enabler is the competencies, driver is the productivity, and deliverable is the efficiency. So you have to identify deliverables, drivers, and enablers for every department, for every individual, and then you link it with the organization's deliverables, drivers, and enablers. Through an interconnected network, you develop a balanced scorecard. So how do you do it? These are few Excels. Now I'll be showing you. What we did was basically, this was organization's vision statement, from which we were basically able to identify the orientations of the organization, strategic orientations of the organization that I was speaking about: environment oriented, customer oriented, profit oriented, employee oriented. And from strategic orientations, we derived strategic HR objectives, that what should be the objectives of HR department. Say, for example, a company will be believed to be employee oriented if we are able to inculcate and develop this feeling of belongingness and sense of pride in each employee. If we are able to ensure customer satisfaction, then we will be achieving another object orientation of the organization, which is customer oriented. If we are able to optimize allocation and deployment of human resources across all levels as per the needs of the organization, then we can be certain that our department is employee oriented. So in this way, we derived the strategic objectives of the HR department. Accordingly, we deduce the enablers. Say, for example, how can we say that yes, our employees are feeling the belongingness and sense of pride? There is a belongingness and sense of pride in each employee if our worker satisfaction and employee satisfaction surveys are driving the required results. So these are the enablers basically. And if we come from above aspect, then the human resource department was classified into various operations: IR, HRD, HRM, various aspects, and different features of these sub-departmental objectives was somehow linked with the enablers of the organization. So when you move from upside down, then you reach to the departmental objectives, and when you move from down to up, you reach to the organizational objectives. And in the middle, by the means of common enablers, these two objectives are meeting with one another, and when you achieve on one of your departmental objective, you achieve another strategic objective on the other hand. So in this way, through this strategic map, you can basically lay down a 5-year or a 10-year plan that in which aspects you will be working in another 5 years or 10 years, and how you will be tapping different enablers in your organization, how you will be achieving or targeting different strategic orientations, and how you will be contributing towards achieving the overall strategic orientation of the organization over the period of next 10 years. Out of this concept card, you derive the scorecards. This is the example of a scorecard in which there are HR deliverables, which are basically the departmental objectives only, say employee and worker satisfaction. Then what are the indicators of these deliverables? Say average score attained by staff on the staff satisfaction survey. What should be the target performance? That 75% of the employees should fall in the satisfied curve. What is the weightage of this indicator in overall deliverables, and what is the marks to be obtained in this deliverable, and what are the narrative to support performances? In this way, we devised 23 different deliverables for the organization, and through these deliverables, we tied all the 18 manufacturing plants of the organization in one common tool of assessment. I'll now show you some results of this scorecard. Say this is quarterly procedure of monitoring the scorecards on employee satisfaction. What is the narrative that how these satisfaction surveys are to be conducted? Everything is pre-decided. Accordingly, different units, these were the name of the different units, they performed quarterly on these surveys, and these were their results, and this is the score that they obtained on this parameter. Similarly, on communication, on manpower rationalization, that how many employees they have been able to deploy over the sanctioned limits over the period of last 1 quarter, what have been their gaps, what have been their average turnaround time of vacancies, what have been their percentage attrition in the category, what have been their percentage absenteeism. So by all these means, we were able to link and tie all these different plants through common objectives of the department, which were basically driving from the common objectives of the organization. Now, if in organization's objective something is changing, say for example, tomorrow organization's objective changes that, okay, we want to focus more upon the cost rationalization now, and we want to move towards manpower rationalization, then simply a deliverable here will be changing, and it will be changing the target, and the same target will be inculcated to all the locations at a one common time. And these locational objectives were further linked by the means of KRA sheets with individual targets. Say this is a KRA sheet of a labor officer. These are the deliverables basically which are coming from the balance scorecard only. These are their key performance areas, and these are the targets which are been given to this particular person. If this person will be achieving their targets, then only the total targets of the balance scorecard will be achieved. And if the targets of the balance scorecard will be achieved, it means the target of the organizations are being achieved. This balance scorecard was derived for HR, for marketing, for production, and for various kind of departments, so that everyone in the organization is working in one common direction of organizational objective. I'll just show you the dashboards, the final results. Example, this is one unit. Quarterly, this plant has obtained 52.55% marks in first quarter, 45% marks in second quarter, 51.54 in third quarter, and 60.15% on fourth quarter evaluation of the balance scorecard. The total scorecard was 52.31. This means that whatever the targets being incorporated to them through the balance scorecard, they achieved 52.31% of them in the period of 1 year. Accordingly, everyone who was working in HR department of this unit, they were having their own KRA sheets which were deriving the same sort of results. So everything was basically linked on one Excel sheet in which one person can be able to see that how he has been able to contribute towards achieving overall organization's growth plan over a period of last 1 quarter, and how their department is performing, how organization is performing, and how I am performing. All these three aspects on one common display pattern. The advantage of implementing HR scorecard is the return cards. The HR return cards can be generated after one complete year of HR scorecards performance, where HR can confidently move towards any aspect of the financial assessment and tell them that yes, our HR deliverable of fair communication, it decreased the average period taken for responding to the staff worker complaints by how many days, because it is being now monitored on quarterly basis. It increased the percentage of staff falling in satisfaction curve by this much percentage, and the percentage of worker falling in satisfaction curve by this much percentage, resulting in decreased attrition of worker by this percent and decrease the attrition of staff by this percent. And then you can link this reduction in percentage of attrition through the means of cost per hire with the overall monetary gains that you have been able to give the organization by achieving this deliverable. So in this way, you can establish HR function as a return oriented function, which is not just asking for the increments, incentives, or awards for the employees, but also giving you in return something and contributing towards the cost rationalization of the organization. So this is the first case study. In second case study, what we did, the second organization was completely different. It was an old organization, but a modern industry, pharmaceutical industry, which is working in GMP standards and matching the regulatory concerns of US FDA, MHRA, and all the developed countries. But this organization was very old. Here, extremely conventional mindsets were there. People were not willing to change, and people were not able to accept any new ideas. If we would like to explain them what HR scorecard is or how things should be moving, then they were very resistive, extremely resistive, because they have grown in the organization. So there were so many hierarchical hurdles and egos involved. There were old procedures and systems in the organization, and they wanted to live and die with it. Unclear strategic orientation. Here, the management's orientation was also not that clear. Like in previous example I've shown you, there it is very important that your management should be open, receptive, and contributory also. They should be sitting with you. They should be giving time to you to understand all these concepts. They should be able to generate the results, understand the results, analyze the results, and accordingly reward the results as well. But if the strategic orientation is not clear, then directly starting with HR scorecard usually will not give you the desired results. So in this case, what we did, instead of going towards directly to the HR scorecard, we started with the mediocre approach where we devised role-based competencies. The role-based competencies are basically, I'll just show you a performance management systems example. It was not possible to derive the KRAs, HR scorecards, and everything. So what we did in this organization was, these were our hierarchical bands, G1, G2, G3, G4, G8. As you move towards up, the hierarchical position reduces in the organization. So G1 is the most senior level and G8 is the junior level. So in these case, we devised role-based competencies, and these role-based competencies were derived in two parts: functional competencies and behavioral competencies. You can observe that as you move higher in the organization, the contribution of your functional competencies reduces and your behavioral competencies enhances, because the people sitting at the top, they will put impact upon the majority of organization. Top 20% put impact upon the 80% of the organization by virtue of their behavior. So in this way, we set a different arrangement of FARs and bars, and the methodology of measurement was also different. Till G4 level, we used 90-degree approach of responses, and G3 and above, which is the senior most level hierarchy where the behavioral problem was there, we implemented 360-degree approach, so that whatever the outcomes are coming up, they should not be taken away by just saying that this is just an opinion of 1 or 2%. Whereas the responses that were coming from these categories, they were a bunch or collection of more than 30-35 people of the organization. So you can't deny that 30-35 people, if they are saying something about a particular person, then they cannot be wrong. There must be some acceptability towards that. So to make it acceptable, we ran it on 360-degree appraisals as well. Then we devised different type of forms for all these different type categories. There were 4 different type of forms. Again, the statements that were picked up on those forms were very different. I'll now show you the results of this. This is just a report, sample report, which is being given to an employee who has been going on a 360-degree appraisal procedure. This is how we plot the grids. Here is the name of employee. Here is their subordinate group, peer group, supervisor group, and the self group. He himself also have to give him evaluation. This is the outcome of the bars part, which is having 50% weightage. So you can see this person has been able to get less marks on interpersonal skills and more marks on organizational skills. And spiderweb analysis gives him the analysis that how he is thinking different from what his or her team is thinking about him. This is the opinion of his team about the incumbent, and this is the opinion of incumbent about himself. You can see that he has rated himself almost 10 out of 10 on the business skills, whereas the team has rated him fairly below. So by this gap analysis, you can ask him, interact with him, and sit with him and make him understand that if you are so much varied from your team, which is these responses are coming from more than 30 people of your team, and if you are so much varied from your team, then how you'll be able to align your objectives with them. So it is very important to link yourself behaviorally with your team, be close with them, and understand what are their expectations, and then start setting objectives for them. In this way, we started moving in a reverse way. Basically, we first of all tried to link the gaps here between the individuals, their subordinates, their supervisors, their peers, and then we tried to bring them on a common objectives scale, and then we move towards clubbing those objectives to make the strategic objectives, and then those strategic objectives were vetted by the managing director or the top management of the company or the CEO of the company. And this is how we basically try to again link different people with the common objectives. Here again the concept is same, but here we didn't started from the top, we started from the middle, and we tried to generate the top objectives accordingly. So this is again showing you that how peers, subordinates, and supervisors, they are differently giving the rating about the incumbent. This is the gap analysis, that how the incumbent is different, thinking different from like what others are thinking and what self rating is, parameter wise. This is the bars part. Similarly, for the FARS part, functional aspect, the weightage is coming. The weightage of FARS is 50% and the weightage of bars is 50%. So collectively, the person is going to get a score. How? You can see this is 2000, this is one of the incumbent, and this is his performance in 2015-16 parameter wise. This is the performance in 2016-17 parameter wise. This is the change in the different aspects. Say initiative and innovation, last year he got this much of marks and this year he got this much of marks. Is it improved or reduced? On bars part again, whether he has improved or reduced, and what is the total score with a 50% contribution. Totally he has improved or reduced. This is the performance trends. It is compared annually. Once we establish this part is known as role-based competencies. Once we establish role-based competencies, then we move towards setting the goals. Now it is nothing else but again now moving towards balanced scorecard concept. Here you quantify your FARS part. Whatever I have shown you in bars and FARS, FARS part will be same, but the quantification of FARS will again take place through the scorecard concept. This is the balanced scorecard of the production team. Earlier I showed you the HR teams, and now I'm showing you the production team's balanced scorecard. The KRA of the production is efficiency, budget, performance, quality, regulatory, safety, and other aspects. This is their total score, and this is what the different plants have been able to obtain on the parameters of efficiency. The calculation sheet is a supportive sheet. Everything is fair and transparent. It is being shown to them that why plant 1 has been able to get why plant 1 has been able to get -1% in first quarter and then -1.4% in second quarter. How they have been able to improve on their productivities and efficiencies. So everything is coming up from the MIS, from central resource, and from this it is going to the balance scorecard. And this is how the production department of plant 1 has been able to achieve on their KRAs over a period of first quarter, second quarter, and then consolidated quarter. This has been their KRA performances. Now, if you critically review the FARS and bars part, so whatever the inputs are coming from the FARS, it is also going to have some weightage of the balance scorecards as well. So you will be getting 30% weightage from the balance scorecard, 20% weightage from the role-based competencies, and then 50% weightage from the behavioral competencies. In this way, an individual's overall performance has been evaluated over a period of last 1 year. You are holistically touching the strategic objectives, the behavioral objectives, as well as the competency-based objectives in these kind of organizations where things are not very clear. And when you run 3 years of performance management system on this, in this kind of organization, on this approach, it generates huge amount of data about individuals, about departments, and about organization as well. And then you can move towards management with a proposal that yes, this we have been able to achieve over a period of last 3 years. Earlier, our performance management systems were very unscientific. Sheets were being prepared on the patterns of just biasness and all. Now everything is concrete way available with us. So let's move towards the balance scorecard now. And this is how you sit with them and you devise your balance scorecard and you finally mature up your performance appraisal systems in the organization. So I'll just conclude the slide. These 4 aspects are again, I'll summarize. First of all, it is very important to conduct the need assessment of your organization on a 5-point design system. You need to make your performance appraisal systems efficient, effective, acceptable, result-oriented, proactive. So it is very important to do a need study that what your organization is actually able to accept as far as performance management system is concerned. Do not try to just copy balance scorecard concept from one organization to another organization. You have to reach to balance scorecard one day, but there is a starting point depending upon the maturity of the organization. Then you have to pick the concept, on which concept you want to move further. You want to move on a concept, conventional concept, modern concept, or straight away from the balance scorecard concept. Then methodology, the forms and statements that you derive. And like I was showing you the fars and bars part. Obviously, the role-based competencies input is coming from the forms. So how the statements are being written in the forms, it is very important. The scales that you pick to measure the responses of employees on the statements is again very important. You pick up the Likert scale, you pick up the scalar rating method, but the scales should be standardized. They should be vetted. They should be validated also through the continuous studies. If they are generating the same results over the test studies, then your scales are okay and you can use them for the performance management systems. And finally, the PMS procedure. When you are doing 360-degree appraisal in a large scale organization, for example, in our organization also, you can see that it is a complicated procedure. You to create grids and everything, then sending the different forms to different people. For each respondent, there are about 30-35 people who are giving you the weightages. So it is, though the manual work is very difficult to manage. This can be simplified by moving towards a better solutions, cloud solutions like the Synergita is offering, or they are offering the designing part of the performance appraisal. You can simply design your appraisal forms, you can incorporate them, then just by the move of the cursor, you can mark those forms to the concerned people. You can generate reminders and everything. The information gets in correctly in time. It get automatically compiled, and it results the fars bars part, the spider webs, they also get automatically generated. You need to focus upon another aspects. You get time to focus upon other aspects rather than just manually implementing the procedure. So based upon the size of your organization, the complexity of your operations, you can move towards cloud technologies, you can move towards in-premises softwares and all. And then once you have achieved it, you again now start to do the need study, because it is a continuous process. You can't just adopt a performance management system and sit with it. You have to continuously evolve your performance management system, because your people are also continuously evolving with the time. So with that note, I would like to thank all the listeners to stay with me.
Thank you, Akash, for sharing your experience. Now I'll hand over to Prabhakar.
Good.
Thank you, Akash. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Prabhakar here. I'll take a few moments to introduce Synergita. Synergita is an cloud-based employee continuous performance management system. As a product, we are focusing on 3 areas: employee performance management, employee engagement, and employee development. So we take care of the end-to-end performance needs of your organizations. And we have won Microsoft Code for Honor Award, and we are the finalist of a Cody Award, which is a prestigious award in the US. Now we want to launch a small poll. Have you automated your performance management system, requesting your responses through the GTM interface? Okay, thank you for the responses. So people magic is the concept of what we deliver through the product Synergita. We believe on organizations removing the hurdle of their employees, engage with the employees in a continuous manner, nurture them and develop them. This will create a very good high performance culture within the organization. We call it a people magic, and we call it through our product Synergita. So we believe on focusing on the holistic employee development, which means setting the employee goals very clearly during beginning of the year. This is like a very important set of activity which all organizations needs to do. The employee needs to understand what is expected from each one of them from the organization. Continuous feedback enables continuous interaction between the employee and the manager, So thereby it gives opportunity for the managers to mentor the team and make them perform consistently well. Rewards and recognition programs are always part of the engagement. Synergita will enable you to deliver keep the employees engaged throughout the year. Check-ins are another element of a performance management, where the employee and the manager need to sit and discuss like what was defined as a target and how much we have achieved as an organization and what needs to be done. This interactions will definitely help the employees feel engaged, and it will also give the required inputs to perform more. And when you do all these things, the annual review during end of year will become very easy, and it can be done without any stress in a very effective manner. This is like a broader snapshot of what we offer through the product. Under performance management, we cover almost all end-to-end needs of a small, medium, and large sized organizations. You can define your competency library, goals library. You can do the quarterly, mid-year, and annual performance reviews using the product. And you can also do 360-degree feedback to make the performance management more effective. It gives opportunity to collect feedback from your peers, customers, which adds a lot of value to the performance review process. The continuous feedback and rewards management will help you to engage with the employees throughout the year. And finally, the appraisal papers distribution can be automated through the system. Under employee development, system allows managers to create the development program, improvement programs for the employees, and go and clearly define where the employees have to improve. And system also allows managers to go and do assessment on a weekly or a monthly basis and see how the employee is improving. The employee training module allows the managers to recommend the training courses. Synergita can very easily integrate with your internal training system and allow the managers recommend the training program, and also track and ensure that the employees have taken those training courses. Synergita is built on top of this three building blocks. The first one is a smart goal. You have to ensure that the goals are defined very clearly, which are measurable, trackable in the system. Synergita will automatically take care of this requirement. Continuous feedback and the peer recognition will ensure that the employee is continuously engaged and getting inputs. And third, the periodic reviews and the check-ins will allow to check where we are and what are the corrective actions needs to be taken to meet the objective of the organization. So we will look at each block in detail. Smart goals. These are the different elements of a smart goal. The goal should be very clear. The objective is set very well. What needs to be achieved and how the achieved target will be measured. All these things should be part of a smart goal. Here is the user interface from Synergita, which enables the employee and the manager to set the smart goals. This is the full view of the employee goal. So once the goal setting exercise is over, now the employee is very clear about what are the goals and what are the targets and what are the due dates. This will drive the employee to achieve the goals during the given course of the year. Continuous feedback and peer recognition. So a lot of organizations are doing the periodic review but not doing continuous feedback. So these are the reasons why organizations should really focus on it. People are looking for feedback, and people when you continuously engage with the employee and give feedback to the employee feels proud to be part of the larger objective of the organization, and they will definitely put the additional efforts required when the organization is requiring the same. The continuous interaction will also allow organizations to listen to the employees and get their views, new innovative ideas, which will help to improve the business of the organization. These are the simple 4 steps which will help you implement continuous feedback in your organization. enable people to give feedback on a continuous basis, implement a rewards and recognition program which will engage the employees, and in fact you can also associate loyalty reward points with rewards and recognition, which can be redeemed by the employees. So these are some of the principles of implementing effective performance management for your organization. I mean, in fact, these are some of the outcomes. The employee will feel they are given importance, and the organization is listening to them. So they will develop their self-esteem, and they will be open to ask for any help to the organization, to the manager. That way, like we can create a collaborative environment across the organization, which will definitely help achieve our business objectives. This is the continuous feedback wall from the software. This is like an organization-wide wall where people will be able to share appreciations, awards, and you can also use this feature to track the confidential notes about the employee performance, to maintain the incident diary about each employee in the system. That way you'll be able to reduce the recency errors, and you'll be able to handle a lot of practical scenarios, like the employee moving from one manager to another manager, and a new manager has taken over, and this module will help the new manager understand the employee performance history and how they have performed during the previous several months. All this information can be accessed in one portal. This module can also enable employees record their unique contributions on a continuous basis in the system. So all this information being available in the system to refer during the annual review will ensure that we assess the employee performance in a holistic manner, and we do not miss out any of these elements. The third one is the periodic reviews and check-in. The system lets the employee and the manager go and update what they have accomplished on a regular basis in the system, and also put the feedback on a continuous basis, which will give the clear picture end of year about how the employee has performed on each goal during the course of the year. And the system will also go and rate the employees with a rating scale: below expectation, met expectation, above expectations, and all. This will help you to quantify the employee performance, and it will help you to create a lot of insights into the employee performance across the organization. So when all these three blocks work in cadence, you will be able to create a high performance culture inside the organization, which results in people magic. And finally, analytics. Synergita has got like got a comprehensive analytics module. We offer around 50 reports out of box. We also offer a comprehensive goals management module, which help you track the employee progress during the course of the year very clearly. I'm just showing a few screenshots of the analytics module. This is the goals dashboard, where you'll be able to easily find out how many goals across the organization are leading, on track, lagging. This dashboard will help the department heads, business unit heads, and the HR team find out where we are and where the corrective actions have to be taken. This is a more detailed view of the goals dashboard. When it comes to a large organization where there are multiple business units, this dashboard gives very high level view of how each business unit is doing with respect to achieving the goals defined. This is the employee performance, overall performance report. This report identifies the top performers, bottom performers, and who are doing in a fair manner. This report will help you to find out the top performers and reward them more, and you can also find out the bottom performers and see how you can help them. Synergita can be easily integrated with all your internal systems, so we can actually coexist with your existing systems. Synergita can be easily integrated with your HRIS to get the employee data, and it can be integrated with your internal ERP systems to pull the achieved targets of employee goals automatically into Synergita. And we can also publish the employee performance results to the other systems. So for example, the percentage of payment can be published to the payroll systems, and whatever additional data is required for your other systems can be published automatically through integration. And we support like all standard requirements of ERP ecosystem. On the authentication front, we can integrate with your Active Directory. We support Google authentication. We support LDAP integration. So we'll be able to give a seamless superlative experience to your employees. These are the value propositions we bring to your table. We promise zero disruption, meaning your existing process will not be disrupted. The implementation will be done in such a manner that the employees do not see any disruption, and they get the new system implemented. And we will be with you like always, even after rollout. We ensure that you go live on time, and we like give you peace of mind, so you can focus on analyzing the results of the performance management rather than spending a lot of time on operational activities. We'll be able to like elevate the HR team to be a strategic team in the organization. These are some of the key differentiators from other PMS products. So we bring the wow factor to the employee, manager, and the HR teams in the organization. Synergita can act as a single digital cockpit from where you'll be able to access all employee performance data. Easy administration. We give all the admin options to the HR teams, so you do not have to come to our support teams frequently for modifying the process or modifying the feedback forms and all of that. And from the IT perspective, like we are completely compliant with all the best practices recommended for the cloud-based systems. We are on AWS, and we are complying with all OWASP standards, which defines how secured the cloud systems should be. And our application is also security tested by third parties such as Veracode, Induspace. And like all our communication with the other systems are going to happen in a secured channel. This is the overall technical stack of the product, and we are on Microsoft platform, and we are on AWS cloud environment, and we are security tested by the third party company called Veracode. So as I touched earlier, like we promise zero disruption and ensure that your organization is up and running on the new performance management system without creating any noise. These are some of the advantages of Synergita. Synergita is very easy to use, and we have we do not train the employee and the manager. They will be able to get into the system and do the activities themselves. So this is like a very high level overview about Synergita, and now we'll be like open to hear any questions from your end.
Thank you, Prabhakar. Now we'll shoot some questions. The first one is for Akash.
Yes, Manali.
Why do you think the balanced scorecard concept is the most effective concept for PMS?
Yes, I'll just come to this question. Thanks for the question. Why balanced scorecard concept is the most appropriate concept? I'll just say not the most suitable, but the appropriate in current context. Because these days organizations are not working in isolation. It is critically important that everyone works in close collaboration with one another. So balanced scorecard is a concept that balances, as I said, the different orientations and objectives of the organization with departmental orientations and objectives, as well as with individual orientations and objectives. So it brings everyone in one common direction of movement, and that is very wonderful to do in modern kind of complicated environments. If everyone in the organization is thinking in one common direction, then I think the major objective of the performance management system is well achieved.
Okay, thank you, Akash. Another one again for you. Can you also please explain the PMS calculation and some points related to PMS scorecard?
Yes, I can. It is going to take 5 minutes. May I?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. The PMS calculation, I'll explain that with the help of my second case study because I think it will be more appropriate to explain in that case. See, I told you that there are two aspects of that you can have different performance management systems with you. In the concept that I explained role-based competencies and goal settings concept. In role-based competencies, what we did, I'll just show you that with the help of an increment letter of a person. Okay, this is just a random increment letter. I'm showing you. My screen is visible. Hope I'm so correct. This is the increment letter of a person. The outcome of the PMS process basically. You can see that this person XYZ, he's having his functional aspects evaluated on the 90-degree based method, in which various aspects of his functional competencies, functional anchors, customer responsiveness, dependability, change management are being rated by his direct supervisor, and he has got some scores on different parameters and an overall score as well. This is the comparison of his scores on different parameters with respect to last year and how he has changed over these parameters. And then the behaviorally, he is also getting scores from more than 30 respondents collectively. And again, the trends of increase, improvement, or reduction on the behavioral parameters and the total scores are there. Now, his total percentage marks in this aspect is 79%. But this is not the end of the story. As I told you, this is the role-based competencies part. The next part comes the goal settings part. So from the scorecard also, this person is getting some rating or the ranking. That rating or ranking is not being given by any person, but it is coming by virtue of the actual performance that he has been able to give, and it is being monitored by the scorecard itself. I'll just explain you that in the help of, say for example, the packing. Say we are talking about the materials head. That appraisal letter was of a materials head person who is heading the materials department. Now, for a material heads person, it is very important to keep the budget of consumables in the control. So, how he have been able to keep the budgets in control over the period of last 6 months, first quarter and second quarter. So, this is his performance over a period of last 2 quarters. He has been able to not able to control the consumable, the expenditure on the consumables within the budgetary provisions. He spent 15% more as compared to the budget in first quarter and 10.4% more as compared to the budget in second quarter. So this is what he has been actually doing on the ground, not on the competencies, not on behavioral part, but on the ground on the different aspects: capacity utilization, consumables, manpower, budget planning, out of specification, and different set of parameters that can be there. So from these also he is going to get some certain type of rating. Now on the basis of this rating and on the basis of role-based competencies rating, they are going to get a final rating, and on the basis of that rating this person is going to be classified in one of the 7 categories: L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. L1 is the worst performer and L7 is the highest performer in the organization. And for each category, we have a different defined appropriations fixed. For L1 category, the minimum percentage is fixed and the maximum percentage is fixed. For L7 again, minimum percentage and maximum percentage is fixed, depending on that year's budget of the organization. And accordingly, we generate the award sheets. And through those award sheets, we are basically rewarding the increments to the employees. Now, those award sheets are again having 2-3 different ways of giving recommendations to the employees: tangible increments, intangible increments, and then ESOPs and other kind of options that are there in the award sheets. So we have different ways of basically rewarding the employees based upon their performances. Okay.
Thank you, Akash. Okay, so we still have lots of questions coming through, but I think a time limit is not permitting us. So
Okay.
we'll have to wind up this session over here.
All right.
Thank you all for attending the session. I hope you all had a good session. And thank you, Akash and Prabhakar, for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you so much, Manali. Thanks.
And attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them at info@synergita.com. Also, we will send you the recorded version of this webinar. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.